Hi, I'm Amy,
And I'm Sam.
and we're bad at watching movies.
But we're good at sneaking out, surfing crowds, and singing scales.
Okay.
She doesn't sweat at all.
Welcome to LA, baby.
Are you kidding me?
Are we bad at watching movies?
In this episode, we'll be discussing the 2004 movie Raise Your Voice.
Here at Bad at Watching Movies, we talk about some of our favorite movies, good or bad. We discuss everything from scenes to characters, and we always have something to laugh about.
The summary of the movie from IMDb reads, a girl from a small town heads to the big city of Los Angeles to spend a summer at a performing arts high school.
So, our characters. We'll just go over a few because, again, like most movies, there's a bunch.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll just go over the top ones. So, the main character is played by Hilary Duff. The main character's name is Teresa Fletcher. She just goes by Terry.
Terry, yep.
Hilary Duff, if you don't know, is she was like the star of our era. Like she
Disney
was huge.
Channel.
Lizzie McGuire. She had all of the her music came out and she was the biggest deal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And she still is a big deal.
She is, yeah. She's on How I Met Your Father.
Uh-huh.
She's got a show again, and I'm so
Yeah.
happy for her.
There's another one that she's on. I can't remember what it's called, but it has Sutton Foster on it also.
Is it Younger?
Younger.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good show too.
Yeah.
The next character is Mr. Torvald, played by John Corbett. He is kind of a teacher that kind of guides her through her time at the school. I think he's an absolute creep.
I was gonna say, I feel like we're supposed to like him, but I do not.
But I feel like we'll get to it, but he kind of is a little bit flirty with a particular student, and
Yeah, it's
I
weird.
don't like that.
It's weird,
So
yeah.
he's a creep.
And then we have Jay, who is the love interest. He's played by Oliver James.
Yeah.
This character is just like very 2000s looking, like the spiky hair,
Frosted tips. Yeah.
puka shell necklace. He's got it all, and
Yes.
an accent.
Yep. And I thought it was Australian and it's
just
English,
English.
but I think it's just he's not good at the accent. Is he actually English? The actor?
I have no idea. I think he might be. I feel like I've seen him in something else, but honestly, I have no idea.
Because it honestly gave me Dance Academy vibes.
It
when
feels very dance.
But I think he's English. And then the last character we'll touch on here is Paul Fletcher, who is Terry's brother, played by Jason Ritter. And not much to say about him. We'll kind of
He's
find
just
out.
kind of like a good inspiration
Yeah.
for her. Like
Yeah.
he's a really good older brother to her.
Yeah, he kind of starts her whole thing
Yeah.
at the school.
He's the reason why she feels like moved to do what she wants to do. So
Exactly.
good for him.
Okay, so we start the movie out in choir practice, and it's like this Jeremiah was a bullfrog,
Classic.
like Joy to the World. It's a bop. Everyone is really into it, particularly this one guy in the back. He's
Yeah,
like
oh
one
my
row
God.
back, and he's just like having the best time.
I love it. They all look so happy.
They
They're at
do.
church. They're just singing a good old tune.
Yeah, it's great. And we find out, and so we're in like kind of in the hallway after the practice, and it's summertime. I think it's the last day of school for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And everyone is in a really good mood. It's that classic like end of the year, throwing the papers up kind of thing. You know, everyone's partying.
Yeah, and
Everyone's
everyone's having a good time. Her brother comes around. He's got like a camcorder. I was like,
Yes.
oh my God, camcorders. What a time.
And yeah, and I just want to note that the school is called Riverdale.
Of course.
Of course. Of course. And yeah, so Terry's brother starts to film them, and he's kind of like flirting with the friend, but the friend never comes back, so I don't think she's too notable to touch on. I don't even know
was
her name.
wondering- I was going to say, I think it's supposed to be her friend. I was like, is he like crushing on the friend, or are they an item? It feels very irrelevant to the story, but at first I was like, oh, I need to know who this is, and then it was like, oh,
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't matter.
In general, character development in this movie is awful.
Yeah, people just kind of show up.
Show up, and then they like hate each other at one time, they like each other at another time. It's
Yeah.
like it's very like you don't know what's going on at any point
Yeah.
in the movie with the characters. You're like, okay, you never see this friend again.
Yeah. And I feel like people are introduced very quickly too. So like for a minute, for me watching it, like I hadn't seen this in a really long time.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is that? What is their name? I feel like you get a name from a person and you like don't hear it for a long time again, and you're
Yeah.
like, I'll just call him whatever person.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of just call like mom, dad eventually.
Yeah,
like
I'm like,
later on,
who
I'm
are
like
they?
names are like not at all in my notes here. Terry gets home from school and her family is throwing a grad party for Paul, who is her brother. He is graduating high school.
Yeah. It's
So
a big day for him.
yeah, they're having a little barbecue. Dad's grilling. They have some beers going. Aunt Nina's there. The mom's there. And then the dad is there as well.
Yeah.
Aunt Nina's like, oh, are you singing a lot? Or are you singing for choir or whatever? She's like, yeah, I'm in the choir. I'm working at Dad's restaurant because it's a family business. They
Right.
own a restaurant. And she starts telling Aunt Nina about a summer program in LA that's just in the month of
Yeah.
August that she really wants to go to. And then like bummer dad just comes in and goes, you can't
go. Yeah. The dad bothers me. He gets so angry and so upset right away. We kind of find out later a little bit more from the mom why he is the way he is, but
Yeah.
it just doesn't develop well for me. It just feels like
No.
he's angry.
And he always has like a little toothpick in his mouth. It's like
Yeah.
hanging out, like I don't know, chomping around. He gives me the ick a little bit.
A little bit.
And yeah, he basically tells her you're not going, and like Terry's really sad. Paul gets home, and the dad is just on one, or maybe that's just the way he is. But he's like, "Where have you been?"
So mean, yeah. And I think he's just like overly protective, but it just comes across as just horribly mean.
Yeah, because I think Paul was like, I was just hanging out with some friends, like just telling
It's
goodbye.
Graduation.
And the dad's like, "Where have you been?" And like I was just saying goodbye to my friends.
Yeah, literally that's all. And then they have this whole conversation because Paul really wants Terry to go to the music school. He is like a really supportive older brother. He is not afraid to push the boundaries with dad because
No.
dad just wants to restrict them so much. And he's like, okay, I'm never going to do anything unless I kind of just like break the rules because
Right.
your rules are so unfair. And so he kind of encourages Terry to do the same thing. He tries to make a push for it. Does not go over well.
No, he ends up like the dad's like, oh, these coals aren't lighting, and then he ends up just pouring a bunch of gasoline on the fire and it blows up, and then he's like, you're grounded.
Yeah, it's just like it explodes so quickly, and I'm just like, oh my god. So he's grounded on the day of his graduation.
Yeah.
He was just trying to have like a family thing and stand up for his sister, and like the only person who is against her going is the dad. Like the mom is for it, the aunt is for it, Paul is for it.
Yeah.
It's just
So then Aunt Nina and Paul, after Paul kind of explodes, Aunt Nina and Paul are on the porch. Paul says that if Terry gets into the music program, they have to make sure she goes. Because I think Paul knows a little bit that Terry's is kind of like a people pleaser. She doesn't want to
Yeah.
step on dad's toes, even though she really wants to go. But he's like, Aunt Nina, we have to make sure.
yeah, that she can
gets
go.
there.
Yeah. Which is it's so special. And it's supposed to be his day right now of like graduating, and he's focusing on his sister. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he's really nice.
Yeah. And then we cut to Terry singing in her room. Paul's filming her with the camera. It kind of sets up that Paul has been like videotaping
Yeah, he's
her.
been documenting the whole like her
Yeah.
whole music journey.
Right, like all the time she's sang in choir, and then we see Paul editing a montage of Terry singing, which I wanted to bring up the clear or the see-through mouse.
Oh
I
my
don't know
gosh,
if you
what
had
a
that.
time.
as-
What a time.
But I had one of those where you could like see inside,
Ugh.
and he had one of those.
I miss that era of like technology where like
Yeah.
like my Game Boy Advanced, you could see through it. It was pink, first of all,
Mm.
amazing, but it was like the clear, so you could like see the components. For some reason, that was the thing.
That
you know?
was the thing. Like,
Technology was so cool, and it was like, no, we don't want to hide what's inside. We want to show you how cool this is.
yeah, and didn't there used to be like the desktop Mac that was also clear?
Oh my gosh, yeah. We had like the color ones, and then then they upgraded to the
Yeah.
clear.
What a time. 2000s were really a time to be alive.
It was great. And one of the things, since we're talking about all that, when he's burning the CD, I just had I was sent back because I always made videos in school for things, and so he's like burning the CD, and it's iDVD, which I don't even think that software exists anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh, I love iDVD.
Yeah, where you just push burn.
burn, and the little black and yellow thing starts spinning.
Yeah.
And it kind of looks scary. I'm always like, that looks like a bad thing.
It looks like hazard.
Yeah.
Like a hazard
Yeah.
like symbol.
But
yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, and it's just so the montage of what he's editing is just a bunch of different songs and moments that he's caught on camera, like her singing with the church choir, her singing like in the bathroom, just having fun. And it's this weird like in between of like live and just pre-recorded.
Yeah.
And that is the entire movie to its core, is half the people are singing live and then it's Hillary Duff singing pre-recorded.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's very interesting.
And it's weird that he's putting together this like video, and we know he's sending it off, so we're kind of like piecing it together like, oh, I think maybe he's sending it to do this program.
Right.
But for me, I'm watching the video and I'm like, we don't get to see the whole thing yet, but I'm like, what he's putting together, and I'm like, it just seems like a teenage girl like hanging out in her room. Like there are some good singing parts, but it does not feel like an audition tape, you know? It just feels like, oh, this is like me in high school having fun, like woo. And it's like, would that really like suffice for, I don't know.
It did back then.
I guess so.
And then we kind of see Paul at the mailbox. He's mailing a brown package. We're kind of in tune that could be the CD he's sending, but what could it be?
Who knows?
Who knows? When Paul gets back, Terry is in his room and she surprises him with the concert tickets because earlier in the movie she has an interaction with the guy who sells her the tickets. So she has concert tickets to 3 Days Grace.
Yeah,
I don't know why it says Tree, but 3 Days Grace. And I looked it up. They're still a real band and they are still touring. And they're 1997 till now since they've been a band.
Yeah, they've been around.
They have been around.
Yeah, and they get their music featured in the movie. It's like the whole concert is like a whole scene. And I was like, the movie decides to give us a lot of like the concert, and I'm guessing it maybe had to do with like a deal because there are other scenes where I feel like we needed more and it just happens really quickly. But then when we're at this concert, I feel like it goes on forever.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenes where it's like it can go on forever and ever, and then there's other scenes where you're like, what?
Yeah, what just happened?
What just happened?
Yeah, the pacing is very weird.
Yeah. And so she's like, oh, let's go. It's tonight. And Paul's like, dude, I'm grounded. And here's the thing. Okay, your son just graduated high school.
Right.
Let him go.
And he
out
did
to
nothing
a concert.
that bad.
No. And I feel like he could just, and maybe it's his dad, but I feel like you could like present it, be like, hey, Terry bought me concert tickets for my graduation present.
This is the only night.
This is the only night we can go. Can I be grounded starting tomorrow? And I'm sure any parent would be like, sure, you just graduated high school, but they have to sneak out.
Yeah,
they have to sneak out.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate.
But he's easy to persuade.
Yes.
It does not take long. They go. And I mean, she needs him because he's got to drive because she can't drive yet. So
yeah, because he's like, oh my God, I'm grounded. She's like, come on, let's go. He's like, okay.
Yeah, it's like 2 seconds, which doesn't surprise me because it seems like Paul breaks the father's rules all the time because they're unjust.
Yeah, yeah.
So they go to the concert. Like I mentioned, it's like a really long scene for whatever reason, but like she gets like hoisted up on his shoulder and then she's crowd surfing, and I was like, you're not like it's not even that like crazy of a crowd, and like she's also it's just wild to me that she gets picked up and like moved around. I'm like, you're not even singing, what's going on?
Yeah because they're just like at the concert. First of all, there's not a lot of people there.
No,
like it looks like a fun time, but then you see
it's
like in the
back
out. People are just standing with their arms crossed, like not moving, and you're like,
and this is pre-COVID, so I don't know why people are distancing so much.
Absolutely. This is like pre-COVID. This is way before COVID. And then he just kind of nudges the guy beside him, and it's like, let's lift her up, and they just lift her up, and then she just like she touches the guy's hand who's singing, and she just kind of like falls back, and it's just having this like moment of being like held up, and it's like it's very interesting.
Yeah. I'm like, I think that happens sometimes, but usually it's like someone who was performing who like stage dives or the like crowd's got to already be like really pumped and excited. But this crowd seemed just kind of like we're having a good time, but like they didn't seem crazy. So it felt very out of place.
Yeah, the 20 people that were there. Yeah. Maybe they just couldn't get a lot of extras for this movie. I don't know.
Might have been the case.
We missed something while they're driving to the concert. Paul tells Terry that he is not staying in Flagstaff and he is going to move to Phoenix until college starts because he got a job. And he's basically like, I'm leaving for the summer and I'm starting a job and I'm just going to start college because he and his dad don't get along. And he's just like, my dad and I just don't vibe, and it just doesn't work.
Which, good for him. Like, it's hard to do that, especially at such a young age. But like, I don't know. In that situation, I would want to do the same thing, I think.
Yeah, you just kind of want to like start off. He basically tells Terry like, you please your parents too much, and Paul. So Paul says, you're you're like a Stepford daughter out of a mail order magazine. And she's like, is that a form of flattery? And Paul says, Terry, you got the best voice I've ever heard. And if you hang out with the world according to Simon Fletcher any longer, you're going to be doing Cats at the Y at 40.
There you go.
There you go. That's true.
I feel like he's correct.
Yes. Yep. Now we're at the concert. Whoop, whoop. And then they're driving home.
Yep. And here is
From the concert.
It's okay. But let's just say this. It is not a surprise that this happens. Like,
No.
we all know it's coming. Like, the music slows down. He's making a left turn. There
He's
are
not
bright
looking at the road.
Yep, there are bright headlights. Boom, they get hit by another car.
Yeah. Yeah. And this part, there are certain parts in this movie where like it hurts me to my core, and the one part was the mom laying on Terry as she was waking up in the hospital, and that whole like the whole scene of Terry being like Paul, and the mom just like shaking her head and just be like,
she just
no.
kind of like, it's almost all like facial and body language where like she doesn't even have to say much.
Yeah.
And they know exactly, like, you know exactly what happened. Ugh.
And
so
Hilary Duff is a good crier.
She is.
She is not like Tara from Dance Academy. She's actually a really good crier.
We need to watch Dance Academy on
Like,
this show.
Her crying scenes, I felt it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
you know what I
For
mean?
me, it's
Like-
the mom. When the mom goes,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even care. I don't even know these characters yet, but I'm sad.
Yeah. And so we kind of go through like different flashes where Terry's getting checked out by the doctor. We see like for the first time, like she sees a shining light, and she kind of has like, it triggers a memory of her
Mhm.
getting hit. So she doesn't, she's shining in her eyes, and she kind of like looks away. And then we have some other quick flashes where the family's really sad. They're at the gravesite. They're
Yeah.
at dinner, like not able to eat. Church where Terry's not singing in the choir, but she's just sitting
Yeah,
in like
she
the
gave up
pews.
singing pretty much
Yeah.
altogether, and it's
Yeah.
just like, I'm so sad, which I don't blame her. I mean,
No.
your brother just died, and I wouldn't want to do anything for a very long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, again, though, it just feels like everything happens so quickly. But that's not the main plot point of the story. So
No.
it's the Kickstarter.
Right. So Terry gets a letter, and she gets accepted to the music program in LA, and she tries to hide the letter, but her mom and aunt end up finding it and going
Mhm.
like, you have to go. We'll tell dad that you're going to stay with Aunt Nina for that month, like in, where does she live? In Palm Desert.
Palm Desert,
Palm
yeah.
Desert. So the family's having dinner, and Nina tells Simon that she thinks that Terry should come stay with her for the month of August in the Palm Desert.
Mhm.
And some dialogue between Simon and Nina, because their relationship is pretty funny, I think.
Yeah.
Simon, the dad, is like, a month alone with you in the desert? Are you nuts? It is alone, isn't it? And Nina says, I'm between guys right now, so yes, alone. And then Simon says, yeah, for the moment.
Yeah, the
He's
the
kinda
dad
bitchy.
and the aunt are like opposites. They're
Yes.
like, she is go with the flow. Isn't she like an artist?
Yeah.
She's more, and he's like very strict, very stern, must have traditional family.
Mhm.
And she's very like, woo, like, let's just enjoy life.
And I can't figure out, I don't know if they touched on this in the movie, what sibling? Is she the dad's sister or the mom's sister?
That's what I don't get, because I can't tell if like the reason they have the banter is because they're siblings, or if it's because she's the mom's sister and like she doesn't quite fit in, but she's like a presence in their lives. It's very
Yeah.
weird. And
They don't say.
the mom, I don't know. The mom and the aunt seem closer, but then I'm like, I don't think the aunt would be so forward with Simon if it wasn't her own
brother.
sibling. But it's
Yeah.
hard. I don't know with this movie, because it's very like, well, that could happen, and her character is kind of bold, so
Mhm.
who knows? You know,
Yeah.
like, it's not very clear.
They don't explain a lot. Yeah, so Terry gets upset for at Nina for suggesting that to her dad. She's like, I didn't want you to say that. Like, why
Right.
are you bringing this up? I don't want to lie to my
Yeah.
dad. And then we kind of get a little bit of background on Simon. So basically, he took over the restaurant instead of going to
Mhm.
off to play football at UCLA because his parents were not doing well or sick.
Yeah, they were
something.
dying essentially, and
Yeah.
someone had to take over the business, and if they go and he doesn't take it over, then it kind of dies with them.
Right.
So kind of similar situation to the last movie, where like Jack feels the obligation to stay with his father's business.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe the dad should have given that up. But the dad, they also talk about the dad's friend who like got to go and got to do the scholarship. They say like got into the bad LA lifestyle.
He's never been the same since.
I know. And the dad has this weird thing about LA and thinks it's like a terrible, toxic place. And like, I get it. It's a big city. There's like, there's bad things in every like bigger city because there's going to be more drugs. There's going to be more, you know, that kind of stuff.
I mean,
but,
Portland is not any better.
Right. Yeah.
So,
it's just big city. That comes with the territory. But it's just so funny because he talks about it in this way that's like, oh, it's so like sinful. Like he just says like, I think he says like LA lifestyle. And I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah. It's very interesting. So Nina basically tells her it's up to you if you want to go to LA, you know, no pressure either way, but you have this out basically of like, just come say you're going to stay with me and we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah.
We get to a really sad scene where Terry sees her mom crying in Paul's room. The mom gives Terry Paul's cross that he was wearing when he died. It's a really sweet moment, and mom is like, you need to do this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure of anything at all, but I just want you to be happy.
Yeah. I just love that that the mom is so supportive and the aunt. Like, they're willing to be like, let's just lie to your dad. He's being ridiculous. We're just going to go over his head because he's being dumb. Like, I feel like the mom holds this entire family together.
Yes.
And like, the dad went through some traumatic stuff. I get it. And he's bitter and whatever. But like, I'm sure the mom went through some tough stuff too.
Yeah.
And she has to deal with him. And yet she's got her head on her shoulders and she's keeping everyone together. And I'm like, this woman is fantastic. And I don't know why she's with this man.
It's a mom thing.
Yeah.
Moms just keep it together.
Carry on. Moms carry on.
Yeah. So Terry goes to LA. She's kind of on her way to LA. Mom hands her a phone and tells her to conference with Nina when she calls because the dad will obviously want to talk to her as well. And I just wanted to note that on the house, they have this like really fun front porch. It's like a second story front porch, and it just like, I just love it.
I want it.
Yeah.
I love a little, yeah.
When she gets to LA, her jacket gets stolen, and the taxi driver's kind of a wackadoo.
Yeah, he's like, "That's
Welcome
LA,
to LA,
baby.
Welcome to LA, baby." It's like, okay. They definitely stereotype LA.
Everything
hard.
Yeah, everything in this movie.
Everyone's an asshole.
Yeah.
Everyone is like rude to her as she walks through, like, gosh, because she gets to where she's like the school, and first thing, Jay, her love interest guy, he's like, oh, we're full, and slams the door in her face.
Yeah.
And she's like, what the heck, dude?
Yeah.
And then Robin, also, as she's walking through the hallway, is just rude to her. Denise is rude at first.
Yeah, she gets to her room. It is really late, so I kind of understand, like, Denise being mad because it's the middle of the night.
But everyone else is up.
Yeah.
There's people in the hallway.
Like, you could just be like, oh, hey, and then, like, go to bed, and you can talk in the morning. But, like, Denise continues to be mean to her, so...
Yeah, like, a lot. She kind of gets to the music school. She settles in. Everyone's, like, a little rude to her. They go to bed.
Oh, my gosh, yeah, she has to go... she goes up to the roof. Yeah, because she doesn't have cell service. And I was like, even in LA, and I'm like, well, this was the 2000s. Like, you know,
true.
There were dead zones everywhere. And you're like, wow, it's actually kind of like funny to think about. I don't know.
So she goes up to the roof and she has to conference in a call, and their parents are panicking because I think she was a little bit late calling them. And they're basically, oh no, she's fine. Her train was just late. Like, Nina's like, she's here. Like, we're having dinner. We're, watching a movie. And that's the classic, like, we're having dinner, we're having.
Yeah, they say it's the same thing, or different things at the same time.
And then they
swap.
switch. Yeah.
The whole, What? Okay, I don't understand this plan though, because they conference in the aunt and her and then the parents. I think that seems kind of suspicious, because if I were staying at like my aunt's house, I feel like she'd be like, oh, hey, talking to my mom or whoever on the phone. And then she'd probably just pass the phone to me. And that feels way more natural than like, hey, I'm going to conference you in so he thinks we're together. Like,
no, you're absolutely. I did
like
not even think about
like,
that.
It doesn't even seem like this is necessary.
No.
to pull this over the dad's eyes.
But
like,
it's Simon. It is Simon. So
he's like extra controlling. So maybe he needs to like hear from everyone all at once.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So as they're talking, they're kind of wrapping the conversation up, and Simon says, don't corrupt my baby. Nina says, don't worry, Simon. I'll have her tattooed with blue hair and married to a rapper in no time. Nighty night. She's pushing his buttons, and I love it.
I love it because he needs that, honestly.
Yeah.
Someone needs to do that. One of my other notes here is I think think it's just because she looks out the window and someone's playing music, and I wrote, "Get it, French horn girl," because she's playing away, and it's like the middle of the night, and no one's yelling at her. So I don't know.
So it's the first day of school. I think they're going. It's like an orientation in like an auditorium. We find out that her roommate's name is Denise. My niece Denise. And there's a performance of like three people playing a violin, and then one stand-up bass.
Is it a cello? It's a cello at first, and then he plucks it.
Oh, okay.
Crazy.
Because he's cool and quirky like that.
I love a good string quartet, though. Ugh.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because I watched this movie twice in preparation for this episode, and I was just zoning in at people who you could tell who actually played instruments and someone who couldn't.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because you can tell that like the extras, I feel like some of them actually played. I think Denise looked like she actually was like playing, and then Salone. We'll meet Salone later on. She's just like this.
Yeah. I've seen that actress in other things, so I mean, it makes
I'm like, okay, she's more girls, of an actress. I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's just funny. I think like the two main people, like the two main teachers, are like absolutely not playing the instruments, and then the two other people are.
Yeah. And the one teacher who's like their cool teacher, he like starts, he lets go of the bow and he like starts plucking it like a bass, and then he kicks it over, and they're like, oh yeah, they all cheer and stuff, and I'm like, I'm a little pissed that he's like knocking over a very nice instrument and possibly damaging it.
Like cellos are probably like thousands.
They're so expensive. I'm like, you're cool and edgy, I guess, but like damaging expensive, I just don't understand like damaging expensive things.
No.
Like when it was popular to like buy a really expensive TV on YouTube and then just like destroy it and watch people destroy it. I'm like, I don't like wasteful shit.
I never got into that.
Yeah, me neither.
So during this orientation, we find out that there is a $10,000 scholarship to any music related study for the student who wins the showcase at the end of the 3 weeks. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I think it's just like, it's like a scholarship, right?
Yeah, it's a scholarship.
But it has to do with music.
Yeah, and so everyone performs at the school or at the program. I just think it's kind of weird, and I guess it's fine to do it this way, but it seems very odd that it's like, hey, everyone who does all these very different things, like you're a DJ, you play drums, you play piano, you sing, you play guitar, you're all going to compete, rather than having like, oh, this is like the singers and this is the pianists, or like it just feels very odd because I feel like they're so different.
Yeah. And there's also Kiwi that we meet later on, who just is like a technician music guy.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to
he's
describe
like a
him,
DJ, but he's also a drummer, but he's also like, he mixes music as well.
Yeah. So it's like, okay.
He's multi-talented.
We're in Terry's first class with Mr. Torvald, who's like kind of the main teacher throughout the whole thing. He's pretty wild. He's pretty energetic. And the class is basically like the Hallelujah 4-part harmony thing.
Oh my gosh. I had to sing that every year for choir.
I'm so glad I did not. And he's like, this is one of the hardest things you'll ever have to do. There's going to be 4 soloists that get to sing this in front of the entire class. And that's like, I guess like the honor of the class is like to be one of the soloists for it. So that's basically the whole class is just learning that 4-part harmony.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't get it, because I've sang the song and it is not that, I mean, like it's beautiful and I actually really do like it, but I don't think it takes an entire like summer to learn.
No.
I don't think so, but maybe to perfect, I guess.
They're also like 16-year-olds.
That's
too.
True.
And Robin is another character we need to introduce. So Robin is kind of like the ex-love interest of Jay.
Yeah.
So from the beginning, she does not like Terry because obviously she feels threatened by her, because Terry is like a new girl and, you know, she's pretty and, you know, she got accepted. So she's definitely a threat to her. And they end up getting into the same group. The same like 4-part harmony group, because he's grouping them up into 4 people. And Robin is clearly very upset. She also has like the most curly hair. Like her and the girl from A Christmas Prince would be like friends.
Oh my gosh. They're best buds because they go to the same hairstylist.
Yes. Oh yes. Like I look at that hair and I go, how long did that take?
It had to have taken a long ass time. But maybe it's naturally curled, but it's like
it's very curly.
Yeah.
So they definitely like curled her hair.
And she's just, I don't know, she's just so mean, but you're supposed to hate her completely. So she does a good job.
So we're jamming at the courtyard at lunch. It's this classic, like, everyone breaks out in song.
We're all gonna jam.
And then it's like the drums, guitars, singing, stand-up bass, like all the instruments. There's people on the roof and like, I don't like out. It's just like people
and
are
of course,
everywhere.
Jay plays guitar, and that's like his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, of course, because he's like the love interest. She's a singer. Like, of course he plays guitar. Maybe he's like, maybe the guy's actually a little more like skilled. I don't know, but for me, it seems like he's always just kind of playing basic chords. But I don't play the guitar, so I don't know.
And I just think also maybe they're just like, hey, let's teach you 4 chords, like the actor, and then this is what you play the whole time. Again, you can totally tell who actually plays instruments and who doesn't. So Jay is definitely not playing the guitar. He's just like petting it is what I described it as.
He's petting the guitar.
Do you know what I mean? Where it's just like the hand like this.
Yeah, he looks like an animatronic.
Yes. And the end song, we'll get to it, but the end song is awful. He's just like not even on beat at one point.
Why did they pick him? Get someone who plays then. I don't know. Like, I understand.
Acting over
I know.
Instrument
You just want the
playing.
performance to be good overall, but.
So Terry tries to sit with Salone, who's another character. She's kind of like very quiet, dark, just seems really unapproachable in my mind. And she walks off. She just like, oh yeah, you can sit here, and then she kind of like just gets up and
she always looks angry. She's always wearing a sweatshirt. I did not like know her name, and they didn't either. And for a long time, I was like, okay, so she's just like sweatshirt girl, because she's like a character for a long time before we even know her name. And I was like, I'm just gonna call her sweatshirt girl. And later on, they're like, oh, black sweatshirt girl, and I was like, okay, so I'm not the only one here.
And we end the scene with Jay kind of looking at Terry, and Robin is pissed off.
She can't handle it.
Oh
my god. And then we go to like one of her classes. And
Mr. Wesson.
Yeah, Mr. Wesson. Of course, the like strict music teacher has like a thick like Russian accent.
Yes.
And he's very like, you must do this and all that. And Terry's very out of place here.
Yeah.
But all of these people have perfect pitch. Like, he's like, I'll play this note. And they all raise their hand and like, yeah, I know what you're playing. That is not easy. And I have a very hard time believing that like the 12 or 11, however many people are in there, all can do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a rare thing. That's hard to do. To be like, hear a note and be like, oh yeah, that's just like a C. I know that's C.
And I know
it's B flat. It's just very odd, and she feels like way out of place. And I'm like, these are high schoolers and they can all do that? Like, damn, okay.
It is a selective school. I mean, they make it sound like thousands of kids apply and only like 50 get in.
But that's what's so weird to me. I'm like, why is she here? Not to like say that she's bad. Well, obviously we learned she has a lot of potential, but like, she's not trained. She doesn't know any of this stuff, but all these people here do. So it's very odd. Like, I know they're supposed to be like, oh, she's kind of the fish out of water here or whatever, like kind of the weird outsider, but like, yeah, why is she here?
Yeah, because she's
like,
not
she
trained.
doesn't have a background here. Yeah.
So Terry's walking out of class and she trips over Kiwi's recording stuff, and he gets her scream on recording. This is kind of just to set up his character because he's weird. He kind of just like is always recording people and then using it in his like DJing tracks. Yeah. And it's just interesting.
It's got a special sound.
Yeah.
And Kiwi, that's a name. And he's like really into the sweatshirt girl,
yeah,
Sloane. Yeah. Again, before he even knows her name, he's just like obsessed. And I guess, it's teenagers. You're very like hormonal.
And Terry kind of confronts Denise because Denise up to this point has been a little bit cold to Terry.
She's kind of been a bitch to her.
And she's like, am I doing something wrong? Do I need to ask for like my own single? Like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. And she was like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to focus and get the scholarship and go home.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's how I felt. When she explained it, I was like, I don't blame her. Like, she's like, I just want to do the thing that I'm here for. I'm not really here to make friends. And I'm like, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. It's going to be a lonely time and it's not going to be as fun for you.
This next part really gave me creeps. I do not like this part.
I don't either.
I think it's really weird, and I think it's not the way I like to say it is I don't think they meant it to be this way.
Yeah.
But it really hits different when you're older and watch this movie again. But essentially, Mr. Torvald and Robin are talking before class, and they're like seemingly flirting with each other. She's like, I just wanted to let you know that I'm gunning for that solo, and he's like, I'll keep an eye out for you then. But they're doing like eyes at each other.
It's weird. It's very weird.
And then I just want to note that her t-shirt says Daddy's Girl on the front, and then on the back it says when Mom says no, Daddy says yes.
Oh my God.
I had to pause pause it and write it because I needed to say that. But I was like, Daddy's Girl, huh? And then when she turned around, I saw writing on the back. I was like, I have to know what this says.
We're getting that shirt. I'm buying you that shirt for Christmas. Like, hold tight.
And it's like the classic like 2000s like tank top, like you can like different like dark bra underneath so you can clearly see it, like just not appropriate to be like flirting with your teacher and saying this shit. It's just that whole scene is icky to me. It is so icky.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
So they're getting through class. Terry messes up the 4-part harmony, basically gets called out in class. So we're kind of starting to learn that she's not really doing well. She runs in late to a one-on-one with Mr. Wesson.
Yeah.
She's trying to sight read, but I hated this because I took music theory in high school, and sight reading is not easy. Basically, like he hands her this sheet of music and goes, sight read this. It seemed also to be in like Latin.
It was, yeah, she was just getting like everything thrown at her. He's I think the point here is like Torvald's supposed to be the more like new, like touchy-feely, younger, fun, experimental, and then like the other guy is very like old school, classical. He's talking about the diaphragm, and he's like, it's okay if you look fat, like,
yes,
which I've definitely heard in choir classes where they're like, it's okay if you look like you want your stomach to be full, and it's like, okay, we get it.
Yeah. So Terry's walking down the hallway, and this is just like a scene of her looking at like all of the different instruments,
and then we find out that Sloane's like really good at piano, and she starts playing. I mean, maybe not the actor.
Like, guys, if you ever watch this movie, pay attention to Sloane's hands, because there's a part later on in the movie where she's just going, but she's just like doing this with the piano.
Yeah.
Like she's not.
The music's beautiful.
Yes, but it's not her.
And then what's his face? Kiwi is like trying to get Sloane's attention, and his way of like doing that is by playing his music and then like beating on his dishware for lunch.
Yeah.
And like she just leaves and doesn't notice. But I'm like, I also don't know like what you're supposed to think. Like everyone seems to be doing some sort of music thing outside anyway. Like how is she supposed to know to look at you and pay attention to you and know that what you're doing is for her? Like there's no indication for that.
No.
It's very weird.
No. I just wanted to point out, did you notice the lizard drink that he had on his
No.
Sobe?
Oh my
lean?
God. I haven't had
Doesn't that take you back with a lizard on it?
I'm in a time machine right now.
They drink it throughout the movie.
Product placement.
Yes.
Oh my God, Sobe. I
Yes.
haven't had a Sobe in so long.
Yeah, Sobe lean is what he was drinking, so maybe it's like diet.
Damn. Yeah, probably. He's healthy.
Yeah, so Sloane walks off. It doesn't work. She doesn't notice him. Next scene is Terry walking in the streets of LA. Her shirt, I think it's cut off. I think it's supposed to say like candy shoes, like something else, but it says all you can see is the word candy hoe.
So we got the daddy shirt and the candy hoe.
The candy hoe. Yeah, they really did them dirty in this movie.
Daddy's little girl and candy hoe. No.
And she's at church.
Yeah, whenever I feel like this is like her way of like grounding herself is like she'll go to church. So she found a church in LA, thank God. That she found one, and it's just kind of her moment. I honestly often forget that this is kind of like, it's not really like a religious movie, but it has a lot of religious undertones.
Yeah, they don't really come out and say like, oh, we praise God or like whatever, but they start the movie with like the Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
Yeah,
like,
she sings in church. That's kind of her thing.
Yeah, and the cross is a big part, but I think the cross is very like, it's very much like, this was my brother's.
For her brother, yeah, exactly.
And not so much it's like God or whatever.
Right.
So Terry runs into Jay on her outing. They're kind of hanging out by the water fountain. They're listening to some people playing the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of starts telling Jay about her brother, and then Denise interrupts them, which this is kind of the first like case where I went like, where's the character development?
Yeah,
Why does
don't
Denise
understand.
like her all of a sudden?
Yeah. All of a sudden, Denise is like kind of her friend.
Yeah.
Also, what's weird is like right when Jay sees Denise, he like gets out of there and has
He's
some
like, "Oh, I
bullshit
gotta go."
excuse. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so did they have a past? And like, we barely get any info that they did. Like, we know that like she doesn't necessarily like him, but we don't really know why. Like, did they date? I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, she's like kind of alludes to that he's a little bit of like a playboy kind of a thing, and I feel that, but I'm like, it's just weird because he sees her and he goes, oh, I got something to do, and runs off, and then
But it seems so rude because it's like right when she's about to tell like the tragic story of her brother, then he's like, bye, and I'm like, Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, be like nice and like maybe hear her out. Like, I don't care if you're running late. If someone's telling you the story of their like sibling dying, you sit still, you listen, and then once they're done, you say something empathetic, and then you can go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. So Denise is like, come over here, and they're hanging out, and she brings her to the train station to play violin. And Denise is probably my favorite character because her violin, like every time we hear her play, it's so cool because she basically has it like hooked up to like,
she's a pedal for it.
yeah, like I don't know what you would call it, but it changes the sound into like a rock and roll, like
It's really cool, and
guitar
she's
and
like the
distorted.
best.
Oh
yeah,
my
when
God.
she plays, I'm like, oh my god, this is so cool. Like, and all the people gather around her and they give her money, and like we find out later that's one of the ways that she makes money because she doesn't have a lot. So,
Yeah.
but it's just like, I just think she's really good. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
she wins, you win, take it.
While Denise is playing, Terry gets a call from her dad, so she has to run out into the street, and she's having a conversation with him, and there's like, you know, police going by with the sirens, and he's like, oh, what's going on? I hear sirens. And she's like, oh, the neighbor's house, the alarms keep going off, so I have to go to the cops. All right, goodbye.
Yeah, which I'm like, that's not gonna help. Your dad's gonna freak out if he thinks the cops are anywhere near you. Oh my
Right.
God.
So I was like, okay, so he definitely suspects that you're not actually where you say you are.
Yeah.
Terry is back singing with the creepy teacher, and can't sing the high note. And Robin is really rude about it.
Yeah, which everyone has their own vocal range. Like, we also never get like an establishing thing of like, oh, who's what range? Like, who's the soprano? Who's the alto? And so like some people cannot hit high notes genetically. Like, some people, like, they're not gonna be able to hit a certain note because of like their vocal cords. Like, there's
Right.
you can expand them a little, but you know, you have what you have.
And I don't think that, I mean, as far as Hilary Duff's vocals, I feel like she's not a high,
She's like high-ish, but yeah, nothing like crazy.
she's not like a high soprano or
Right.
anything. She might be like a soprano too, or
It's just very odd that she's like, oh my god, you're getting like a high note, and it's like, okay, well, not everyone is like a soprano one or whatever. You know,
no.
it's just very odd to me.
I
but-
used to be, and then I grew up, and now I'm
and then I grew
definite.
up.
Then I'm definitely more of an alto these days. So creepy teacher, this is Mr. Torvald. I
Mhm.
refer to him as creepy teacher for the rest of the movie, so just know it's Mr. Torvald
It's very
because he's creepy.
he is very creepy.
So he basically was like, "Hey, stay back," and he asked her. He's like, "What did you do with the girl from the DVD?" And she's like, "What?"
Hmm?
And Mr. Torvald shows her the DVD that her brother sent in the day before he died. He tells her that the
Yeah.
DVD is the big reason why she got into the music program. Obviously, this sparks emotional
Yeah.
feelings for her, and she runs off.
Yeah, but again, I watched this video and I'm like, what? It's just like a girl singing in her bathroom, and like, yeah, she's making music, but it's so like jumbled and cut up, and it's like,
Yeah.
what? But I guess it's supposed to be like, oh, you look so alive, like you're passionate, and this teacher's all about like the passion and loving music and
Right.
being expressive. So
Right. I guess.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and Terry's running down the hallway and crying. She gets to her room and she starts to pack up her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And packing up her stuff, I mean by just like throwing shit on her bed.
Yeah.
She's not doing a very good job of packing.
Yeah, she's like falling, and like I get it, she's emotional, but like yeah, she's like wrapped up and things are breaking, and yeah.
Yeah, and she ends up breaking her brother's necklace,
Mhm.
and it's not broken. You can like if you zone. I've zoomed in a lot on this movie and paused it and like really looked
Yeah, what's
closely,
happening here?
and you can see the loop. They just took the chain off the loop. You know, like a necklace, you put it through like the
It's
little loop
broken.
thing. They just took it off and go, oh, it's broken. And I'm like, no, it's not.
You're
No, it's
lying.
not.
Thank you.
No, it's not. So Jay is running after her and is standing in her doorway, and he's basically like, let's get out of here, and takes
Yeah.
her out
Yeah.
to LA.
So he like convinces her to stay, but says something about running, and she's like, how do I know you won't run? And it was like, it's before they're even like an item, like it just feels very rushed. And,
Their
like,
relationship is definitely rushed.
yeah, it's just like, oh, all of a sudden he's really important to you. Like, you didn't seem like you knew each other very well, and now you're like, you can't run away from me. And I'm like, okay, like, like you met like 2 days ago. I don't know. It seems like nothing. Like, I don't know how fast this movie is going by, but apparently their connection is a lot stronger than I thought it was.
After one glance at each other in the courtyard and no classes together, because I think Jay's in the guitar section, right?
Yeah, because I never see him in the singing classes, but some of the other people
No.
I do see in the singing classes. That's another part I don't understand. It seems like everyone is supposed to be in all of the classes that are taking place, but then at the same time they're not. Like, it seems like there's some people who are also in the singing classes with her, but they also play the instruments, but she never does
Yeah.
the instrument classes. I don't know.
So yeah, there must be some multi-talented kiddos.
Yeah.
So they're out kind of in LA with Terry and Jay are out in LA kind of walking around. And I felt like this was an important part because she feels really guilty
Mhm.
about being there when Paul is dead. She says, "How
Yeah.
can I be having a good time when Paul is dead?" I guess it's a cute moment. I don't like Jay
Yeah.
at any point in the movie,
Yeah.
even when he's like good to her. I just think I just don't like him.
Yeah, he feels very wishy-washy as like a person.
I also love her sweater skirt combo. That's really 2000s.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I remember. Yeah, okay, their outfits during the whole movie, honestly, are just very that. But then I
Yeah.
remember specifically on the beach with her.
Her like juicy zip
Colorful,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then Jay basically tells Terry that he likes her, and she's like, "How does Robin fit into this?" And we find out that Jay and Robin had a thing last year, and he claims it was over. And again, I noted I do not like Jay.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
like him.
Yeah.
But yes, we are at the singing part now.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, because this part, it's like it pops up on memes and stuff because it's iconic. Like
Yeah.
they have to sing scales,
Mm-hmm.
and the one girl goes first. She's just like gonna sing the thing, and she like messes up terribly, but she has to do it live on
Yeah.
the thing, and it's like la
Yeah.
la la blah, blah. She messes up, and she has to sit down, and
Right.
the teacher's kind of an asshole about it, which I just don't get his vibe. Like, I don't know if he's supposed to be like, sometimes he's really strict and mean, and then all of a sudden he's like nice, and I'm like, I feel like
Yeah.
they're trying to be like he's like the tough love mentor, but it never comes across that way. It just feels very like almost like it just
Yeah.
seems like at one moment he's good and the next moment he's not. Because he's like, yeah, it's not like it's just like a big part of your grade, blah 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 blah, and then he kind of like makes a joke. So it's like,
Yeah.
are you serious about this or are you not? I don't get it.
Yeah, he's very. I think he wants to be cool, but then I don't
Still
know.
strict. I don't
Still
know.
Strict.
Yeah,
It's very
and
weird.
then, oh my gosh, Terry has to do the scale.
Yes.
Pre-recorded Hillary Duff, and it's
Yeah.
like very obvious that the audio is very different.
Very different.
And she does the scale, and it starts normal, like la 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 la, and then it breaks into like a
hey. Ooh. And everyone's like, "Oh my
Yeah, like,
god,
clap,
that's
and
amazing!"
Kiwi's like, oh my god, and I'm just like, what? Like, she started off doing the classical scale that he asked for, and then she's just like, hey, and you're like, okay.
because she's adding in her own flair.
Yeah, she's expressive.
Mr. Creepy told her to, so she's doing it.
Yeah, he likes the hey hey ooh oohs.
Yeah.
so.
And Terry is getting some confidence, and she actually ends up getting the high part solo in the class.
Mhm.
So good
Yeah,
comes out
good
of
for
it.
her.
So she has another session with Mr. Wesson. He's like, let's try an easier song. But she's really like feeling herself at this point.
Yeah.
She's like, no,
Let's do
I
it.
want to try the other one. And I just would really like to stick with the other one. And she
Mhm.
kills it.
Yeah,
and it's
she's-
pre-recorded.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We know Hillary Duff can sing. Like, obviously she's
Yeah.
sang it, but it's just like the audio is very different whenever it's her time to go.
Yeah.
Because it's all pre-recorded, and she does a great job. But the thing that bothers me is like again, I'm not like perfect musically, but like it seems like the metronome is not like she's not singing with the beat. It just kind of like happened. Like her voice is great, but I don't know why there's a metronome because she's not on beat.
No. But Mr. Wesson loves it.
Yeah,
He's
he
like,
loves
"Oh."
it anyway, and I'm like, I don't know if he would be reacting that way because if he's very like strict about the rules, he'd be also strict about the beat.
Right. So Terry walks in on Jay playing the piano in the auditorium, and he's
Mhm.
like, "Oh my god, I didn't see you there," kind of a thing. And they decide to get together and write a song for the final showcase.
Which I didn't even know you were allowed to just like, hey, we can team up, which is like cool, and I'm glad that they're bonding and they're gonna do that. I just had no idea you were allowed to even do that, and they just like decided to do it. So
No, yeah. And so, yeah, I guess you would split it, or like he would have probably given it to Terry, but whatever.
Yeah.
So Jay and Terry are eating lunch together. Kiwi walks over. He's complaining about how Stallone doesn't even know he exists. He's tried to talk to her, but she will not give him the time of day.
yeah,
And so Terry's like, I'll ask her to dinner for you, and goes and asks Stallone, and Stallone's basically like, okay.
all right.
And her response is, Kiwi's a weird name.
Yeah. I wrote that down too. I was like, yeah, it is a weird name.
I like Salone's character.
I do too. She's
think
just like
she's
supposed
great.
to be like kind of that gothic kind of girl or like standoffish, and that she's like kind of meh about everything.
Yeah. And Kiwi is so happy, and I really want them to be together. I like them. If they were the main characters, I'd probably
be better.
I'd probably like this movie even more.
Yeah.
And
agreed.
if Jay were just not in it.
How do you really feel?
So I have a note. I feel like Denise and Terry are friends out of nowhere.
Yeah, she's just like all of a sudden really nice to her.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know they had a moment. Yeah, I know they had the moment on the train station, but they're like besties.
Yeah.
Because they're like talking in the room like, oh, why are you here? Like, oh, my mom like works whatever. My family doesn't, like, Denise's parents don't have like a lot of money. She's here because like, you know, she needs the money for college, blah, blah, blah. So
Right.
that's why she really needs the scholarship. It's just like their growth is so
It just happens out of
weird.
nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't get it.
And I have a line here because I just think it's really funny. I think they're like trying on clothes and stuff, or like
Yeah.
just talking to each other and like bonding. And Terry says, do I look like I'm going clubbing? Because they're like teenagers and they want to be grown up. And I'm just like, I'm dead. Like, do we look like we're going clubbing?
Oh, Terry. And Dad is heading to Aunt Nina's to check on Terry.
Yikes.
And she's not there because she's in LA.
Yeah.
Jay ends up driving her to the train station and Terry is running. And I was watching this last night with Andrew, my boyfriend, and he brought up where it's like her just like running out of the train station and then just running on the street.
Yeah. I don't.
It's like, are you running in Palm Desert? It's got to be hot in August.
I don't know. Yeah. This
Like-
movie, the continuity, and there's so many issues.
Yeah. So basically, she's trying to beat the dad to the house. The dad gets there. It's the classic, like, the dad arrives. The aunt's like,
About
there's
to say something.
and then
Okay, but like the aunt was like earlier, the aunt and the mom were like, "Oh, we'll tell him like midway through, and he'll be fine." Like
yeah,
they say that they're gonna do that, and I'm
like
like,
when the time is right, we'll
and I
tell
was
him.
like, now might be the time. But then,
But then Terry arrives,
She
and
makes
all
it.
is well.
but I gotta use this because it is Hilary Duff. Don't you think maybe it's time for her to come clean?
Oh my god.
Okay, sorry.
And like Aunt Nina says, I need a drink.
So does Amy after that one.
Jay and Kiwi are Saturday night. Jay and Kiwi are waiting for the girls to arrive,
Yeah.
and Salone arrives in just a full gown.
She's in a whole ass dress. I love it though. It's really actually kind of cute. Like the green and the black, it fits her character, and everyone else is more like just everyday clothes, but she's like fully dressed up.
And she seems embarrassed at first, but then everyone's like, "No, you're fine." And
She rocks out.
Terry's
honestly.
like, "Oh my gosh, you look amazing!" And they go and they're singing with Denise in the streets, like hanging out.
I don't like. I think it was all kind of Terry's like plan. And
Yeah.
she didn't tell Denise ahead of time to kind of like surprise her and be like, "We're here to support you and help you make money." I don't know how I feel about it. Like, why does she need extra help? I know that you're like friends now, I guess. It just feels like she's kind of just like, we're here. And honestly, Denise sounds better when she's just playing by herself than when this like group of 4 people who kind of sing jump in.
Yeah.
And it's like brings in this whole crowd. And I'm like, really? Interesting. I feel like Denise was better on her own.
Yes. Yeah, because they're playing, and I think, I honestly think like singing the same notes as a violin sounds so weird.
It's weird. Yeah, it just doesn't. I'm like, interesting. Okay.
The
like,
way you do the things you do. And it's like Terry is singing the notes that Denise is playing. And I feel like that to the ear, it just sounds really weird.
But then all the crowd gathers and they give her a ton of money. So I'm like, okay.
And it's supposed to show that they're all friends now. And they're
Yeah.
all like, Terry's like kind of starting to find her place.
Yeah, like this is the group. But it just feels like this group is so weird.
Yeah. No,
I don't
for
know.
real.
Like, I don't know how they fit together. It doesn't feels like they were just thrown together, which I guess is kind of true and happens. But like,
And Jay and Kiwi were never established as friends.
yeah, it's so weird. Like, when did they? I have no idea they were friends. Did they know each other last year? I guess they did. Cool.
So Jay and Terry are on the roof alone after the date. Jay tries to kiss her, but she kind of refuses and like,
Yeah.
I'm not ready yet.
I'm not ready.
And then they decide.
I'm glad that he's cool with it. It's a good Jay moment for him to like be
Yeah.
cool with it, and then he tries to just kind of like change the subject, keep things light, and I'm like, that's
Yeah.
okay.
And then she's like, I think I'm ready actually. And then they kiss,
2
but
seconds
like
later.
they are like making out.
Yeah, it's full mackin'.
Cue the montage of them being happy. It's our first montage of the movie where they're like writing songs together and they're walking through the hallway like hand in hand. Robin is jealous. They're laughing.
Can't handle it. I wrote, my note is Camp Rock did it better.
Camp Rock did all
I feel like Camp
the
Rock
things
is
better.
this movie, but just like slightly upgraded.
So they go to open mic together. And I'm wondering, where is this club?
I know, and so like they're in high school, but there's like adults there, so it's not like a bar or like it's under it. Like let's.
And I get it. There's restaurants
Yeah.
or like coffee shops even, but it felt more of like a bar.
It did, and the thing I noticed is like at the beginning, the guy who's on stage is not doing a good job, but people are so mean, and I'm like, it's open mic night, you know, like. Not everyone's great on open mic night. That's kind of how open mic night goes.
So Terry and Jay are going to practice their song together on stage, but she gets really scared and she sees the light and it reminds her of the accident. And again, she kind of has PTSD.
Yeah.
Is this girl having some therapy?
I think she should probably go. I mean, she really should see like a trauma counselor. Or
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, she should go get the whole family, really. The
And
whole family would benefit
But
greatly.
this is the time of no therapy and just deal with your issues and shut up and don't cry and don't show your emotions.
Yeah, and her dad probably feels very much that way based
yeah.
on the way he reacts to things. So, and look how well that's been working for him. His whole family hates him. So,
Right.
Great. Yeah, PTSD is a real thing, but this movie is not real.
Yes. And that moment, to go back to Camp Rock, it reminded me of the this is real, this is me moment for Camp Rock, but she doesn't actually like go through with the song.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just the beginning of it and then she runs off. Yeah.
She's almost there.
Jay comforts her outside. I have a note that says, I'm jealous that she gets to wake up at 8 a.m.
Honestly.
You have it worse. I get up at like 6:45 and that's even
my
like,
workday
ugh.
starts at 6:30, so
Yeah. Because I saw her alarm clock and I was like, 8 a.m. Man, that sounds great.
that sounds so nice.
Terry is not in class after the next day after open mic. Robin tries to get her solo from the creepy teacher, but he's like, she deserves it. She's been working hard. And Robin storms off and is like, I guess I'm not your favorite. I guess you have a new favorite.
Yeah. She's like just a total bitch all the time. All the time.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Robin is crying. And Jay is asking her what's wrong. But first of all, she's crying and pounding on the
vending machine. I was like, why is she hurting the vending machine? Like, people just like to break things in this movie. They just like to attack inanimate objects for whatever reason. Like, let's knock over a cello. Let's punch a vending machine. I don't know what's going to be next, but I'm not ready for it.
No. And so she's like, I don't get it. How can we go from being so great one summer and being crap the next? She asked to talk to Jay alone. Ruh-roh.
Yikes, we know something happened there. But then we cut back to the teacher, right? Because she goes...
and kind of apologizes.
Yeah, so Terry goes and apologizes to Torvald, and he's not happy that she missed class because mental health is not a good enough excuse to miss a class, I guess.
You better be... what did he say? He's like, well, if you miss class, you must be deathly ill.
Yeah, because I know you wouldn't miss my class for anything else. And it's well, her brother died, so she's still just kind of putting the pieces together there.
Yeah.
Like, sorry.
And I hate that because I feel like just recently, like with like work and stuff, you're allowed to have mental health days. Like, I'm really grateful because I feel like I work at a mental health clinic, so I hope that they value mental health days.
Should.
But I feel like when like in school, it was just like you kind of had to just like force yourself to go some days, even if you didn't want to go.
That's when you learn to fake sick.
Yes, and and I think my mom is still works in a school, and they do have like, I think kids get so many mental health days a year, where they can they're not sick, they don't have symptoms, like whatever, but they can just stay home.
They need a break. People need breaks. It's kind of crazy.
But back in this time, it was like.
Don't even bring that up. Don't even bring it up. Yeah.
Like if you're feeling sad because your brother died, well, you better have a better excuse for missing class.
Now it's like COVID. You have sniffles, stay home.
Yeah. It's like, don't even come near me if you even have like a symptom of anything.
Yeah, someone coughs and I'm like, what happened? I think it's time for a classic every single movie we've watched up to this point thing to happen.
What's that?
It's time for two people to be kissing who shouldn't be kissing, another person observing it and being mad about it.
Classic.
Because Robin tries to kiss Jay, Very similar. This one's very similar to The Christmas Prince, where Sophia goes in and just like grabs the prince and is like, we're gonna make out.
Robin goes in with tongue.
Yeah, she goes, yep.
Like in. And so Terry, like
Sees
said,
it, of course.
sees it, runs off, and she pushes him down the stairs, kind of.
Yeah, I was like, is there gonna be another death in this movie? Because I don't know if I'm ready for that.
It just turned into a death movie.
I can't.
And Terry runs through the room, and she's ripping up her music book that I assume that like they wrote all the songs together.
Yeah, which I'm like, I get it. And she's a teenager, so I'm trying to like be rational, but I'm like, no, don't ruin your songs because of a boy. Like, not worth it.
Not
and
worth
Jay
it.
of all people, like, no, not worth it. Not worth it.
So we cue it a sad montage this time where Terry's like walking like, on the boardwalk in LA.
I can't do it with this movie anymore.
And Jay tries to talk to her, but Denise is like, stay away from her. And songwriting is going wrong. They're at the piano just going like, oh, nothing is sounding right.
I can't make a song because I'm so sad. And it's like, that's the best time to write a song. You've got some inspiration. I mean, have you Adele? Hello?
Yeah, and so she's praying in church, and she's just like, nothing is going right. Nothing is right without Jay. It's like,
so
yes,
hard.
it is. You can find someone better.
Yeah.
And Terry and Mr. Creepy are having a conversation about loss. He basically tells her to use that loss and put it into her performance. Exactly.
That's
literally.
what music, that's what art is about, which is like, this is the part where he gets right, where it's like, it is about like emotion, and it's about bringing other people into your emotion. It's like, I feel like we're about to get deep, everyone. Let's get deep.
Okay.
No, I feel like a lot of times what art is just trying to like express yourself, and then also I think it's a big part of like empathy in general. Like when you hear a sad song, you feel sad because you're like an empathetic being. You feel that other person's pain, and I feel like that's what art is in general. Like you feel the artist's happiness, you feel their thing. It's empathy. That's what art is.
And I honestly think that too, for me and a lot of people, I think it's a form of therapy.
100%.
Just writing down like a song, or writing down your feelings, or putting that into a poem, or just like that kind, or like a painting. Even it doesn't even have to be music, but I feel like it can really help you work through shit.
Yeah.
So he's basically like, use it to your advantage.
Exactly.
You've been through some shit, but it does not have to be like this barrier.
Yeah. Because he
Right?
sees, this is what I appreciate about the teachers. Like, he sees her potential and is like, I know you can be great. And like, we're kind of told that from the beginning. The parents are like, you could be amazing. We know you can do this. Well, at least the mom, the dad is whatever. But
Yeah. So we get Jay coming to Terry and Denise's room, and he's drunk.
yeah.
But like the classic, like, high school,
Sad boy.
I'm gonna act like I'm drunk, but I'm like, I'm not. You know what I mean? Like the acting, like
where
this
it's like
is
really played up.
like, I've never been drunk in my life, but this is what I think
Drunk
being
people
drunk
do.
is.
Yeah.
That's what I felt.
Yeah.
Is how his the actor's performance was, is like, just like be given like bullet points of like, this is how people are drunk, and then that's what he does.
And Denise is like, no, leave him out there. Do not go. And I agree with Denise. She's like, cut him out. Be done. This is not worth it. He is not worth it. I'm like, yes, Denise. But then, of course, she goes out there because she feels bad, and he's having a breakdown. And he's trying to explain, like, no, Robin kissed me. I'm so over Jay. But she has this line where she's like, why would you drink? And she says it like that. And I die.
Yeah.
This movie has it's trying to give me a lot of different themes, and I'm like, just pick one, please.
And also, here's another like story plot, just for like something they could have added in the beginning of the movie. At the orientation, there were like any substances of any kind are banned, like like drugs or alcohol, whatever. And so when I watched it again, because I also have not seen this movie in a long time, and I was like, oh, I feel like maybe Jay will get in trouble, and then they'll try to like do a lot of like, the friends will band together and like get him back into the program, and it'll be this whole thing of like, that's kind of like how they band together and get him back in, but that never happens.
Yeah.
He just sobers up on the roof,
And it's fine.
and everything's fine. And I'm
Yeah,
like, they
she
could have
stays out
used
there with them
that.
all- Yeah, but that's what I'm like, and that's the other thing is, I'm like, does Jay have a past with drinking? Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, does he have an issue with drinking, or is it just like, this is his first time? Like, it just feels so out of place.
We have no
would you
idea.
drink? And like, I get it, they're young, they shouldn't, but it's like, what is happening in this movie?
I don't know.
But then she stays up with him all night until he wakes up, sunrise on the roof.
Yep, and
comes
another
to-
Hillary Duff song playing in the background.
Of course,
Yep.
because the whole soundtrack is her.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. And then we cut back to the parents, Terry's parents' house, and Dad finds out that Terry is actually in LA because he's asking for the keys or something, and then Mom is not answering him, so he starts to go through her purse, and he sees the invitation for the final showcase.
Why is that still in your purse?
I don't know.
Like, I get
Hide
it.
that better.
But yeah, like, if you are really part of this whole, like, dad thing, maybe throw it away, hide it, shred it, whatever.
Like, just PSA to moms out there, if you don't want something found, don't put it in your purse, because you know your entire family's going through it. And the amount of
Yeah.
times that I went through my mom's purse growing up, it's like
yeah,
that.
as a kid, you're like, I guess it's here.
Like, mom's purses are meant to just be, like, rifled through, so do not leave important documents in a mom's bag. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, Terry wakes Jay up, and they go back and they start writing the song for the final performance. He has an ice pack on his head because I guess he's hungover, and that's what hungover people do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're working on the song together. Looks like they're working back onto their relationship. I guess it's fine.
Yeah, like they're pretty much everything's good between them, and they're just gonna work on it. And she like wants it to be perfect, so she's like, "We're doing this a million times until we get it."
Yeah, she deserves better.
Honestly, she really does. And then the dad. So the dad confronts Mom,
Yep.
and he just like freaks out. He's like, "You lied to me," and the mom's like, "Well, you're mean to everyone. Like, what did you expect?" Of course,
Yeah.
like, good for her, but she still just kind of like falls flat, and he gets his way, and
Right. And yeah, so the dad's pissed. Dad says, "What's wrong with you, Francis?" Mom says, "What's wrong with me? We just lost our son. We are losing our only child that we have left. I'm not going to let that happen."
yeah, she understands that if you're gonna be like overly like protective and mean and like hold your child so close, especially when they're a teenager, they're gonna push
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, like sheltered kids definitely go the most crazy.
They go the other way, yeah, because it's like, what do you expect, you know?
And then Simon basically is like, "I want Terry home now," and he storms up the
yeah.
stairs. And so Salone is killing it on the piano, and Kiwi kind of starts to make a lot of noise from another room, and Salone is pissed. She stops playing the piano, and she goes to tell Kiwi to shut up and just yelling at him, and then they just start making out.
Oh my gosh, and they go hard. Like, they knock over so many instruments, and I'm like, why is everyone breaking all these expensive instruments in this movie? Like, what? Okay, I want to know the budget, and I want to know how much of the budget went to fixing broken instruments or replacing them.
Yeah. Yeah, we should look that
I
up.
need that. I need a pie chart. Thank you.
And we have another montage. It's basically just kind of showing all the students like practicing and like getting ready for the final performance. Alrighty. It is finally the last performance of
Here
the
we are.
summer. And Terry realizes that she does not have Paul's necklace, and so she has to run back to her room and grab it.
Yeah.
And Robin is up first, and it's fun and it's cute.
Yeah, she's good. She's like a talented singer.
Yeah, it's like, "I'm in the club." I feel like she says that like,
I think
"I'm
she says, "I'm
dancing."
in the club."
Yeah, something like that. It's really like upbeat.
Yeah. Then we go to the room because Terry's going back to her room, and her dad's already packing her stuff, and he's like, "What? Like, you're leaving?" And she's like, "Oh shit!" Like, literally this close. And
like, I don't get it. She's probably has like 2 hours left of the program.
Yeah,
because
just
this
let
is
her
the final.
finish.
Like, just let
but
her
it's the same with the
do-
freaking graduation and the sun, where it's like, okay, it's kind of a big day for him. Can you not be an asshole for 2 minutes?
But he
for
has
2
to
minutes.
be. He has to be.
He has to be.
And then it cuts back to the performance stage where Kiwi's performing. It's really fun. He's got it all like his
And we get his real name, which
mixing.
I don't remember. It's like Ingle something.
Engelbert.
Engelbert.
Yeah, Engelbert.
No wonder he goes by Kiwi.
So Kiwi's performing, and then Salone performs. And I said, "She's performing, but is she?" Because it looks like she's not actually
Yeah, I'm not
playing
sure if the
piano.
actress actually. Yeah.
No, she probably does not. And this is the type of movie because I feel like, just to give an example, Wednesday. Have you watched Wednesday?
Mhm. Yeah.
She had to take like vigorous like
Cello
cello lessons, so it looked like she was actually playing. So I think she, like the actress, actually learned
Yeah.
how to play the cello
It's
for the show.
I that's such dedication. That's hard.
Oh my
Learning an
God.
instrument, and even if like it's not perfect, to just get it to look a little more seamless, even if she doesn't end up being the person playing for the movie or whatever for the show.
Yeah.
I think that it's worth it. Like, I love those little details.
Yes, and
Pixar
so
always says that. Like in
Yeah.
Coco when he's playing the guitar, like those fingers are accurate, and I'm like, someone like studied that and had to animate fingers.
and I appreciate that so much in this movie. They were like, just Just like move your
music
fingers.
people aren't going to watch this movie. And I'm like, you just need to have like basic knowledge of what sound.
Well, hey, as a younger child, when I
You were
watched this
for it,
movie,
yeah.
like every week, I did not even think about it.
Right over the head.
So we're back in the room, and Simon is telling Terry that they're leaving right now. He's continued to pack, and Terry says, "I'm not leaving, okay? I did this for me, and I'm going to finish for me. You can take me home if you
Yes.
want to, Dad, but I'm going to perform any minute now, and it would mean the world to me if you were there supporting me."
Finally.
She
Just stands
finally
up.
stands up.
Yep, I love it.
And Simon seems like he's coming around to watching her perform. Denise performs.
Oh my gosh, Denise is the best. Like,
The best.
I just like the whole movie. I'm like, her performances are the most captivating all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, she crushes it, but we're not surprised.
No. Like rock and roll violin is how I
It's
described
so
it.
cool. I
It's
love
so
it. I really
cool.
like it.
Terry is still not back yet, and it's Jay and Terry's turn to perform.
Of course, they're last. Of
Yeah.
course.
And so the teacher's or the announcer guy is kind of like, I have some bad news, but
Mhm.
Terry ends up making it.
Last second.
She's getting ready to go. Terry has this really bad habit, and it's like in every actor's 101 class, it's like never have your back to the audience, but she has a really bad habit of just like standing with her back to the audience.
'cause
So
she's nervous.
she's nervous, but don't do that. And so she's kind of like looking up at the light, and you think, oh shit, she's gonna have like another one
Another
of her
flashback.
like
Yeah.
another flashback, but instead she smiles up at it, and she sees her brother
Yeah.
behind the light, like he's helping and shining the light on her. To
Yeah.
help
So
her
she's
perform.
kind of like overcome
Yeah.
that. Like, so I guess we can assume she's not gonna have these flashbacks anymore where they're bad. It's always gonna be positive now.
Yeah. Mom and dad end up walking in, and they're at the performance. And before she starts to sing, she says, "I'm dedicating this song to my brother, Paul." And it's really sweet.
It is sweet.
And this song, I watched this for the first time like earlier in the week, and I literally sat there with my mouth open. This song is so good. This song is so good. This is the
It's
kind
just
of
very nostalgic for me. I hear it and I'm like, I remember this.
But it's so perfect for the movie because basically it's like when I'm standing in the dark, I still believe someone's watching over me.
Mhm.
So it's like an homage to her brother
Mhm.
looking over her from heaven. And so it's just really good. This was definitely the song. I had a microphone, like a full stand and like a microphone when I was growing up. That was never connected. It was just always like kind
The
of something
for
to
toy.
play.
Yeah, yeah.
And this was
love it.
probably the top song I sang.
I
In my
love
bedroom
it.
when I was
I
growing
can see
up.
old baby Amy rocking out to this.
Like I put on performances for myself
I
with
love
this
it.
song.
Yes.
This song is like it's just like brings me back.
Yeah. No, the second I started hearing it, I was like, oh, I remember this.
And I was singing the whole thing. I was like, how do I remember all the words after so long?
But again, it's like kind of churchy. It's like the biblical allusion because she talks about like the walls of Jericho tumbling down, and I'm like, okay, yeah. So it's still very like faith based for her.
Mhm.
So
And yeah, even everyone's loving it. Robin's loving it. You know, Simon and the mom start to hold hands. It feels like it's kind of starting to bring the family back together.
yeah,
There's background vocals, but there's no people singing background vocals on stage.
it's fine.
And everyone is really happy and proud.
Mhm. Even
Denise-
Dad.
Yeah. Denise ends up winning the scholarship.
Yes, which
of
makes sense because
course.
I love the song. I love it. But Denise still did better, I think, in my
And
opinion.
I appreciate like movies that don't make the main character win.
Yeah.
who
Unless it
really-
makes sense. But like usually it's like, oh no, that doesn't need to be what they learn because that's not what's important.
No,
Yeah.
that's not the point of the movie. It was never the point of the movie for her to, because she never was going there for money. It was
Right.
never like a thing where she's like, I could see maybe if like she comes from like a family who's pretty poor, but they look pretty rich.
They seem fine, yeah. They're in the
Um,
suburbs. They have a
and
house.
and yeah, Denise kind of establishes that she's kind of like, you know, has money issues. Her family doesn't have a lot of money, but she wants to live her dreams and do
Right.
music school. So it definitely was a really good choice.
Yeah.
To have
Yeah.
her win the scholarship. It's really sweet, very touching moment. And Simon tells Terry that she was great. The mom and Aunt Nina are really excited for her. And that's just
Mhm.
like really a really sweet moment. Dad says, I wanted to tell you that it was the proudest moment of my life seeing you up there.
Finally.
I just wish Paul was there to see it.
Yeah. He like finally apologizes. I hope that he's a changed man. I don't know if it happens
Yeah.
in 2 minutes like that, but I really hope so.
Yeah.
The teacher meets the family.
Yes.
And he's like, she's pretty good, and we hope she comes back next year. Like,
and Dad's
open
like,
invitation.
maybe.
Yeah. Dad's more open to the idea now, so I feel like it's going to happen. And then all out jam sesh, and it's just a Hilary Duff music video.
Yep. Essentially for the credits. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just take note of the parents, because, like, I just feel bad for literally anyone in the scene who doesn't have an instrument or something to do. I don't know what their direction was, because they look very lost. Like, the mom is trying to do like a little jig. She's like got her like hands up and she's doing like a mom jig, you know, but it's like, this is a really long song and you're doing that the whole time. And then the dad is just kind of back there, and sometimes he's smiling and other times he just looks so uncomfortable. And I'm like, that maybe that's kind of accurate. I don't know.
Yeah. Just kind of like hovering in
Yeah.
the background. So yeah, that is Raise Your Voice. Final thoughts?
This movie is made for tweens.
Mhm.
100%.
Yes.
It is very, like, too many things happen so quickly, and I wish I knew more about each character, I guess. Like, it just feels like maybe they should have cut a couple characters to give us more depth on fewer people, or made the movie a little longer and shortened the scenes that don't need to take so long and expanded the scenes that are supposed to actually like explain what's going on.
Because I agree with you, because I just don't feel like we even know much about Terry.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know enough about these people other than
Yeah.
like the current situation that she's living. It doesn't feel like there's much of a past for her, and like it's very weird. But overall, like, I mean, I still like it because it is so cheesy that I'm like, I have something to giggle about. Like, I love this type of movie because there's so much to watch. And like you mentioned, like, watching slow and try to play, like, that stuff I just find so fascinating. Where it's like,
Yes.
who let that slide? Why did it let it slide? Like, it's just, I don't know. That stuff cracks me up.
Yeah, it's like, who was watching that going like, this looks like she's actually playing the piano. But honestly, like you said, it's made for tweens. It's made for teenagers.
Yeah.
Like, to have that, like,
1000%.
you know, because I had a very different thought of this movie when growing up.
When I was younger, I was like, oh my God, that's what I want to be.
Oh
I
my
want to do
God, I
that. I
wanted
want
to
to
be
go to a
Hilary
music
Duff.
school. I want to sing.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with Hilary Duff. I remember, I think it was in like second grade or something, I told some girl that Hilary Duff was my cousin and that she airdropped from a helicopter to my house when she visited.
Oh my God, Sam, did this girl believe you?
I don't know.
That is the best story. Like a parachute? Or just like
I like in my mind when I was telling the story, it was like a rope dropping down.
Oh my
but
God.
I, you know.
But yeah, this is a great one. This is definitely like my childhood for sure. It was these kind of movies.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's very nostalgic, like all the 2000s outfits and you know, different drinks and different things like that. It definitely brought me back.
Yeah. It felt like they were just like, oh, Hilary Duff's becoming a star. We need to like put her in this movie really quick so we can like get
and
some
just
money.
play her
Yeah.
music that already is released.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is that movie. I think next is
We may be doing a collab soon. Well, we will be doing a collab soon, but we just don't know the order yet. So
Yeah.
once we get that figured out, it will be very exciting.
Very
I'm excited
exciting.
for the collab.
Me too.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And then we will have a couple other things lined up. We do have a fun holiday special for
Yes.
St. Patrick's Day
Yes.
that I'm pumped for.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, we have a lot of fun things coming up. Again, we have a Patreon, $1 just to support us with some costs that we have and just kind of startup.
Yeah, but stay tuned on our social media. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram.
Yep.
It's all at Bad at Watching Movies. So if you just search us there, you'll find us.
Yeah.
You'll see our beautiful faces.
Yes.
And you'll get updates there. So it's a good place to be.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Okay.
She doesn't sweat at all.
Welcome to LA, baby.
Are you kidding me?
Are we bad at watching movies?
Okay.
Woo.